What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. And honestly, I didn't consider this one, and I probably should have, because why the hell not? It's kind of a bonus review. We are going to go over the latest offering from Deep Purple. Yes, they are still around, still cranking out albums. And admittedly, I didn't have this on my radar. You know, I've been listening to Deep Purple probably before I even knew I was listening to Deep Purple, because my mom's a huge fan. And yeah, I didn't even know that they were coming out with a new album. I haven't really heard anything, probably past Stormbringer. So yeah, more of a classic fan. But yeah, we're going to go over their new album, Equal One. This comes out on the 19th of July on earmusic. It's been formed in 1968 in the UK. This is their 23rd studio album. Again, I stick mostly to the classics. I mean, you know, In Rock, Machine Head, you know, the classic ones. The ones that everyone loves. Fireball's in there too. So yeah, I haven't really kept up with any of their modern output, but, you know, looking into this, it was cool to see three of, like, the old schoolers still in here. You have both Ians, Ian Gillan and Ian Pace in there. You still have Roger Glover on bass. And at least to me, the new keyboardist, because he's been there since 2001, Don Airey, sounds like he is the perfect fit for the absence of the legendary John Lord. Yes. And we have a new guy on here, Simon McBride. This is his first album with them. He jumped on after Steve Morse, who had been with the band since 1994. And honestly, I think I only know him from his work in Kansas. He left in 2022 to take care of his wife, which totally understandable. And I gotta say, this new guy instantly impresses me. Yeah. He actually participated in the songwriting on here. And yeah, honestly, it sounds like Deep Purple. Like, flat out, it's good, classic, heavy rock. It's very just kind of like locked in that old school 70s sound, but with a good modern touch as far as the production, which the production was handled by the absolutely legendary Bob Ezrin. So there's a lot of big names involved here.
I admittedly have not listened to much Deep Purple. I bought a greatest hits album out of a discount bin at Best Buy when they were still selling CDs for like $5. And I was like, yeah, I'll just pick this up and jam it. So I've heard the greatest hits of Deep Purple. That's about my know with this band. But based on what I know from Deep Purple and the sound I've gotten used to, this has a lot of that. Really, to be honest, one of the first things I said, after jamming a couple songs was, this honestly sounds like it could have been released or created 50 years ago. It just has enough, touches on the production, just enough to kind of modernize it a little bit, but really it sounds like Deep Purple.
There's a bit of the grit sort of trimmed off of there, but everything still sounds very organic. Everything's separated well. But the main thing is the songs themselves definitely have that classic vibe. Like the opening track, Show Me, comes in with a good stomping sort of like groove. There's a cool riff on top, and cool riff is kind of like something I'll probably say about just about every song here, because Simon really adds a lot of good guitar flavor in here. And one of the key things, at least, for me in terms of Deep Purple, and I imagine a lot of fans, is the harmonies between the keys and the guitars. That has always been a staple of their sound, and these guys do an excellent job once again. Lots of lead trade-offs between Simon and Don, and lots of harmonies between the two. But Simon, I think, is like kind of the wild card, because, he's kind of the new guy. You kind of wonder what he brings. And honestly, he brings quite a repertoire. His leads are very tasteful, lots of great phrasing, lots of feel to him. But he also shows off a lot of flash here and there, like some really good, a little bit more metallic runs every now and then, some cool proggy tapping, and again, like more flashy play than essentially what I expected, because, a lot of this band sound still kind of latches onto that old school blues rock sound and kind of just heavies it up a bit.
And they make it sound so dirty, too. The song Lazy Sod, dude, oh my God. The dirtiest of keys and guitar licks, I swear, call me Pigpen while I jam that song, dude. Just dust and dirt covering me.
You remember the movie Nothing But Trouble?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
When Dan Aykroyd, as the judge, breaks out the keyboard and he doesn't kill Tupac.
Yep.
that
Yep.
happened later, sadly.
Or the bluesy sounds of No Money to Burn, just sultry, yucky blues. And I get it. I have no money either. It's totally understandable.
And very flammable.
Yep. Everything's just got a real, like, swagger to it, and you just spend a lot of time going, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Heavy swings and grooves. Ian Pace, because we have to say his last name because we'll get our Ians all mixed up.
Sure.
He's still got, like, just this solid pocket that he lurks in. And honestly, like, you know, listening to this and then, you know, kind of comparing it to, I don't know if I really call it a modern band, but they've been around for a while and, you know, still going. Clutch.
Yeah.
Clutch, it kind of reminds me of the whole era when they had the Hammond organ player in there. So from Beale Street to Oblivion, Robot Hive, Exodus.
Yep.
It's kind of got that swagger. And, I mean, honestly, listening to Ian Pace play, I'd have to think that's one of John Paul's influences.
It would have to be. Now, obviously, John Paul plays with a little bit more flair and flavor because he's John Paul Gasser, but I mean, like, it's right up there. Like, songs like I'm Saying Nothing, that has the fattest fucking groove in it, and when they isolate the snare for just a moment, it's got this fucking awesome crack to it. So, I mean, I get where you're coming from with that. And, like, after he said it, just immediately I was like, yeah, I can't really shake that. Like, there's huge Clutch vibes in this record.
And you also got to keep in mind that, like, the majority of the band are in their 70s. Like, there's only one dude in this band that wasn't born immediately after World War II. So, honestly, I got to give him some credit there because, I mean, you know, a lot of this stuff, yeah, you know, it can be a little bit taxing. These guys are still out touring, too. They're touring, like, this year, like, right now,
like
I believe.
in Chicago, actually. I saw it because we jammed it on Spotify, and it said upcoming tours, and I was like, oh yeah, and it just outside Chicago, and I was like, oh.
But the thing that's really awesome here is, like, yeah, there's tons of old bands out there that, you know, they kind of go through the motions that put out an album to put out an album for whatever reason. But here lately, we've been hearing some, like, really inspired stuff from older bands too. And this definitely falls in that category because, you know, while the songs are very much kind of like just stripped down, right to their elements, right to the things that Deep Purple has been doing well for years. They have character. They're fun. They're catchy. Songs like Portable Door and Pictures of You have just absolutely infectious rock hooks. Pictures of You, honestly, that could be like a Cheap Trick song. It kind of has that, you know, power pop sort of sensibility where it's just driven by giant catchy riffs, especially the chorus riff. The chorus hits harder than hell. But this band knows how to have fun with these songs. Like, while they are, you know, stripped down, meat and potatoes, rockers with a lot of blues influence, you get down to the bridges on these songs, and this is where the band just kind of comes alive. It's like, you know what? Let's take this thing for a walk. We got two guys who can play leads in very different ways. Kind of switch them up, mix them around, harmonize. Let's have some fun. Let's kind of maybe throw a little off-time hitch in the rhythm.
Yep, they're there. Yeah, songs like If I Were You, that's got a huge off-time groove in it. They're really, really tight in the pocket and just frequently work well with each other, so there's always some sort of, like, neat kind of groove going on.
And when they isolate the drum and bass sections, it just sounds awesome. Like, Roger Glover's bass sounds just fantastically warm. And those kind of show up a little bit more on the ballady tracks, like If I Were You and I'll Catch You, which are decidedly very sultry, especially on the verses. Yes. Ian Gillan is... He's out to fuck your grandma. Now, he's a gentleman, though, and he'll buy her a nice dinner and probably call the next day. But there's a certain sultry kind of swagger to it, like, hey, listen, I may be old, but I'm going to plow your gam-gam.
The lead in I'll Catch You is crying like it lost its AARP card.
It's been on a bad streak of shuffleboard losses, and it just can't cope right now.
What are you going to do? Fort Lauderdale ain't what it used to be.
But when Ian Gillan isn't singing directly from the pelvis on the ballads, he's got some good, like, more rowdy rockers on here, like Now You're Talking and Sharpshooter. Bit on the Side, that has, like, a double bass groove to it, and honestly, like, a decidedly heavier riff. So you can definitely hear the band's, like, proto-metal sort of roots. Like, again, this is a band I would never flat out call heavy metal. It's very debatable. I get that. But I've always seen them as a proto-metal band or just, like, classic rock. And I think that's perfectly fine. But it's kind of cool to hear them do, like, a little bit more to kind of, like, beef up some of the moments. Like, I wasn't expecting double bass play at all. You know, Ian Pace is 76 years old. You know, hey, it's awesome that he is still playing at the level he's playing, which he's doing a great job in here. But I wasn't expecting him to go like, extra hard on you.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not, we're not talking death metal double
Oh no, he's not doing like,
flashy,
like
but I mean,
Fear Factory kicks.
It's definitely, because when he first said it, I thought, well, like maybe he's doing single foot, but then I thought about it like, no, that's pretty fast for single foot.
And it's gonna hurt an ankle.
Yeah, it's only so long before parts start falling off. So I mean, you kind of want to take it easy, I guess, a little bit. But even so, his drum performance, although fairly simplistic, is still kind of flashy at times. In the last song, Bleeding Obvious, like he's going to town. There's a bunch of turnovers in there and a bunch of syncopated moments. And so like, well, it may be rock drumming for most of it with a little bit of groove here and there. Like he's still got it.
The last track, Bleeding Obvious, shows off a lot of dynamics. Honestly, I think it's probably one of the biggest callbacks to their earlier sound. Like it's, not quite like Child in Time or anything like that, but there are bigger dynamic shifts in terms of style. Like it gets a little bit more atmospheric in spots. There's some really awesome, like, different textures in terms of the keyboards. And the lead work in terms of the guitars on that one, it's decidedly more, metallic. Like, it almost kind of sounds like Iron Maiden, but the entire song, it kind of has some callbacks to, I would say, contemporaries in terms of, like, Deep Purple. So, Yes, Rush, maybe a little bit of Uriah Heep, too. There's a little bit more effects on Ian Gillan's vocals, too, which... It's kind of nice because I would say his vocal performance, all right, he's 78 and it's awesome that he has the range that he has, but the vocals are very forward in the mix and they are very dry.
Yeah, that was something I thought too. Like, if, I'm not talking about, don't obviously modernize them so it loses the classic feel. But if you just put like a smidge of reverb on there or move it back a little bit, I think it's going to sound a lot better because it is very forward, very prominent, and very dry too. And like, he doesn't always hit all of those notes exactly, the way that it should go with the music. Now, granted, once again, he is 78. I'm 42 and can't fucking sing, period. So
his vocal performance is a bit inconsistent. Like, when he nails it, he nails it. Like, again, the big hooks on Pictures of You. I really like his sound on Bleeding Obvious. No Money to Burn, he's got, again, this good bluesy swagger.
Yeah.
Like, when they kind of latch on those bluesy grooves and kind of let him croon a little bit more versus trying to push his range to the higher levels, he sounds more comfortable. And again, that kind of works with the sultry thing where he's trying to break Gam Gam's new hip. That's, a great place for him to lurk. Not Gam Gam's hip, but that range. Unless Gam Gam's into that, then that's totally fine. Gam Gam used to party back in the day, all right? You let her go wild. The songs like Old Fangled Thing, and now you're talking a little bit more up-tempo, a little bit more, kind of fast and energetic. Now you're talking, honestly, it sounds like the soundtrack to a biker brawl in an old bar, like on a desert road someplace. Like they're kind of scoring that. And it's a fun kind of callback in a way to Highway Star. Like there's some moments on there that feel like deliberate tributes to, well, themselves. But there are points on that song in particular where Ian Gillan just kind of sounds like he's pushing too far in terms of that upper range. And then there's a scream on there. And that scream should not have happened. A, because you're 78, you still got this much voice left, I wouldn't go ruin it. And B, it doesn't sound very good.
First of all, it felt like it hurt. Second of all, it sounded like AC/DC for just a moment. But like it's so out of character for the entire record. Like, why? Like I get that it's upbeat, but don't hurt yourself, man. It's not that important.
And I get like the whole like, let's show them we still got it. And they do, like I would say across the board.
100%.
Like, this whole album kind of has that let's get the band back together.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like it has that vibe, even though this band's been back together since 1984. Still, it has that vibe. They still sound like they have a passion for the music. The songs are hooky, they're fun. Like every song in here, I would say, is very engaging across the board. But there are moments within songs where like maybe that was a bit too much, or maybe the song sounds a little bit too much like another song on here already, which, this album runs about 53 minutes, I'd say.
Little long.
And after a while, you kind of feel the length of it. Granted, every song, you're kind of shaking your ass a little bit, almost instinctually, because, like, dude, when those grooves hit, they just hit, like, yeah.
Hard.
This feels like it's been home since 1970. I would say that is kind of a slight negative. Like, you do kind of feel the length of this album after a while. And it's not necessarily like a horrible thing because most of the songs are good, but I mean, it is an issue.
And then one small issue I had, there's a transition between the end of Pictures of You and the beginning of I'm Saying Nothing. It's mostly the end of Pictures of You. They set up this part like it's going to be something really awesome. When they hit what I would have called a bridge at that point, like everything stops and then it's got this big cosmic kind of proggy build-up. And it builds up like they're gonna go into something sweet, because at this point in the game, every song they've done something sweet as far as either an awesome lead or awesome keys. And to me, that had the setup for both awesome lead and awesome keys. And then it just stops and goes into I'm Saying Nothing. And I was kind of just like, man, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I kind of get like wanting to do a more flashy transition between tracks. Like, that's kind of cool. And I liked the atmosphere that it had. Like, it kind of felt like John Carpenter like kind of stepped in behind the keys for a second and kind of like, no, we're going to make it a little cosmic, little spooky. There's a cool like backwards guitar sort of fade in thing.
And that's what got me, because like I know that this band is more than capable of writing some tasty fat groove, because it's been pasted all over the record, and I thought, man, what a good place for that. And then it ends, and I was like, man.
And honestly, the keys and the guitars really just steal the show on this album. The keyboard play, dude, Don's a monster, dude. There's so much crazy stuff going on, and I watched some music videos before we did this review, just like, all right, let's check out some of the singles. And he is a wild man behind that, keyboard setup, and like lots of Hammond organ stuff. There's like more spacey stuff. Like, he's just a solid player. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like in terms of giant negatives, there's not really a lot on here. So overall, I want to give this 4 stars. Yep. Like, I was wavering at 3.5, but honestly, I enjoyed pretty much every track on here. Like, there were a couple tracks that I liked a little bit less than others, but I still liked those tracks. And I think a lot of that has to do with the familiarity. Like, this still 100% sounds like Deep Purple. They're not trying to, like, blaze a new trail into more modern territory. Fuck that. That's stupid. Don't do that.
Leave that for another band.
Be the influential juggernaut that Deep Purple is, and they definitely are doing that right here. These songs might be a little bit more stripped down and just kind of down to just rocking and riffing and grooving, but I love stuff like that. And every one of these songs delivered great riffs, great melodies. Again, groove central. Ian Gillan's vocals, for the most part, I think are pretty solid. Again, he does kind of waver in points, and maybe some different vocal filters might have helped a little bit. But overall, this is just a solid rock album. Like, this is just ballsy, heavy, old school rock. If you are a big fan of Deep Purple, duh. And again, like, classic stuff like, Black Sabbath, and, definitely some Blue Oyster Cults and stuff like that. And again, like bands like Clutch too. Like, it's kind of in that sort of vein. Check it out, jam it, shake your ass. It'll be a good time.
I 100% agree with Nick. I was not wavering at a 4. I was at a 4. First of all, like he said, all these songs are entertaining. Even the ones I liked less, and there's only, I think, like 2, 3 of them maybe that I liked less. They all still bring something really neat to the table. And really, it's mostly in the jams, man. When these guys jam, they jam hard. The interplay between the keys and the guitars is just something special. And I think something special that only Deep Purple can pull off. And it's just done really well. Tons of fat, funky grooves. And again, a couple sultry things to, sleep with your grandmother. I mean, you got to, right?
Get that butterscotch flavored lube. Gam Gam's getting it.
I was grossly entertained by most of this, if not all of it. And yeah, there were a couple things that I would have done different, but these guys have been doing it since 1968. I'm going to shut the fuck up about telling them what they could have done differently. It's pretty much a solid, great release. The 23rd in their catalog, just insane. I had a real good time jamming this. It is virtually impossible not to shake your ass while you jam this. I mean, I pretty much just nonstop was just over there bouncing and having a good time, and all the leads with the keys and the guitars are all dirty, and it just, This record is pretty damn awesome. These old fuckers still can groove, and I would definitely recommend checking this out. If you are a Deep Purple fan, you will still be a Deep Purple fan. And of course, Clutch. I can't shake that. now that he said it. Yeah, From Beale Street to Oblivion, the Bakerton Group, if you ever heard them, like, that's a huge thing, too. Yeah, definitely check this out, man. I had a great fucking time. So 4 stars for me.
So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below, thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size. And we even have hats too, so if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And as always, tons of stuff going on in Thralls of Metal. Album reviews, discography rankings. We will get to Meshuggah, I promise you. Is it metal? Is it not metal? States of metal. Nick's massive collection updates, because what else is this guy going to do besides add CDs to his wall?
Crack.
Anyway, all this stuff we do here at Thralls of Metal is all because of you guys. We genuinely appreciate all of our fans, our subscribers, our family, our friends, everyone who has helped us to get to this point. Thralls of Metal keeps on getting bigger, and it's really bizarre because I never thought it would get this far. I don't think any of us thought it would get this far. But we appreciate you, and that's why we keep the awesome content coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule, and again, tons of stuff coming your way. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.